7 people already.
One might be my wife.
One of them's my wife.
Hello, everybody. It's 6:30, and we're going to start this meeting. We're going to start off with pledges of allegiance and a prayer. We're also just going to make a statement here. We're going to go through the commissioners' meeting agenda first, and we're going to follow right up with the rezone request. We're asking that everybody be courteous, polite. I will not tolerate anything. You get 2 strikes. The first strike, you get warned. Second strike, I ask a deputy to remove you. I'm going to let everybody have 3 minutes. Just please be kind, be courteous. We're going to get through it. We can't make everybody happy, and I'm sorry about that, but we're going to try to do the best we can, at least let everybody get to say what they want to say, but do it politely. If you'd all stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you bow your heads, please? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for your great creation, Lord, that you provided us with this galaxy universe. It is awesome with all the different things that we get to enjoy, the sun, the moon, the stars. We just thank you for the weather. We know it's a little brisk out there, Lord, but we thank you for all 4 seasons here. We thank you for your Son. We ask for your guidance and your wisdom in all that we do. We ask it all in your precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Did you thank for the weather?
Yes. I love the weather.
He said,
It's a little brisk, but it's nice.
All right.
First thing before you, your minutes for February 3rd's meeting. All had a chance to look at it and entertain a motion on that.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve, all second. Any further discussion on them? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. I want to just acknowledge that we did receive the clerk's monthly report for January. Any questions from you gentlemen on that? Moving right on down, Mr. Justin, bid updates on the awards for 2024-2 CCMG paving. Start with.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I'm here to follow up. We bid 3 separate projects at our last meeting, so we've reviewed the bids, certified them, so I'm here to make a recommendation for award for all 3. I'll go one by one. So the first one is our paving project for our 2024-2 CCMG award. So when we read the bids out loud at the last meeting, Milestone was the apparent low bidder with the amount of $1,392,787.50. When we took the bids back, we checked Wallace Construction's math on their bid, and there was a couple hiccups in there. After correcting those math errors in accordance with the contract documents, they were now the apparent low bidder for the project in the amount of $1,377,968.85. So in having reviewing and certified the bids, I'm recommending award of this project to Wallace Construction. If you guys would rather do this one by one, we can do it that way, and then I'll move on to the next one.
I'd rather do it one by one. So.
All right.
Any questions for Justin on the CCMG 2024-2? Any comments? The only comment that I had, and I already discussed it with Justin earlier on the railroads and the crossings, and appreciate that. So I'd entertain a motion.
Or are you wanting to do them one bid at a time?
No, not one bid.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were going through one at a time, but okay.
I was gonna do
we approve
paving, then do the digging, Bridge 99, then do the multiple bridge. I was gonna break them down into 3 if that was all right with Justin.
Sure.
And you guys?
Right, but the only thing I heard unless I'm missing something was the paving.
That was just the paving bid,
So I'll make
correct.
a motion that we approve the lowest bid for the paving.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussions from the board? Any discussion from the audience? Going once, twice. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. You're up on Bridge 99, Justin.
So Bridge 99, we had 3 bids ranging from $595,000 all the way to $636,210. After reviewing the bids, we have found Ponham Contractors to be the lowest responsible and responsive bidder in the amount of $595,000. With that, I'm asking for your approval to award this contract to Ponham Contractors.
Any questions from the board?
I have none, I'll move to approve that.
We got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve the Bridge 99 bridge contract. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collier. Any further discussions on this? From the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. And our last one is the multi-bridge rehabilitation project. We received 2 bids, one from All Star Paving and one from Baumgartner and Company. I do want to point out, when we read the bids aloud at the last meeting, I did read the wrong number out loud for Baumgartner. If you take a look at the bid tabs, we have separated this project into Group 1 and 2. Groups 1 being the bridges that we submitted with our original CCMG projects. Group 2, we added Fire Station Road, the bridge on Fire Station Road to this project. A couple meetings ago, I came to you with a quote, we have to replace a beam on that bridge. So after replacing that beam, we need to do the same paving treatment to this bridge, so we incorporated it into the same contract. So the real low bid total for Baumgartner, who was the apparent low bidder, was $748,491. We've reviewed their bid and found it to be complete. So with that, I'm asking for your approval to award Baumgartner and Company the contract in the amount of $748,491.
Any questions for Justin?
And that includes replacing that beam.
That is a separate contract, but they are coming back to repave over the bridge after that is done. So both of our contractors are going to coordinate with each other to get that done.
What kind of timeline are we looking at is my only question.
So the beam is scheduled to be replaced sometime in May, June, around that time, and that's when they'll be doing their paving for the rest of these bridges after that. So it should line up really well.
Brian Carter makes a motion that we approve the low bid of $748,491 to Baumgartner and Company.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the bid for Baumgartner and Company at the price of $748,491. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Last one, sir.
Yes, so the next item I have for you is a contract with VS Engineering. This is an LPA consulting contract. Recently, last year, we were awarded around $700,000 in safety funding from NDOT and Federal Highway. These projects are awarded at a 90-10 split, where we only pay 10 cents on the dollar for any of our projects. So this contract bundles 5 different projects together. A couple of the different locations are Rob Hill Road. There's a bad curve on Rob Hill Road. We've got the intersection of Man and Landersdale Roads, Baltimore and Tutterow Roads, and then our last one is Greencastle and Gaspard Roads. Making safety improvements to all 4 locations. This contract is in the amount for $105,000. So with that, Don and I sat down with Eddie. We scored all the submissions for this. VS was the selected consultant, and they presented us with this contract for $105,000. So with your approval, I'm looking to award this contract to VS Engineering.
Just for the audience's sake, Justin, are these the top 5 crash risk areas in the county, or just ones that fit into the dollar amount for the award?
So these are the top 4 locations in the county. Yeah, 5 projects over 4 locations. So yes, we got our most recent crash data from Indiana LTAP. We get this on an annual basis. We go through that data, and these were the top 4 crash sites in the county. So.
Any questions for Justin?
No, and I'll move that we approve that.
We got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve the contract to V1 in the amount of $105,000. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion from the board or from the audience? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Justin. Miss Abby, EMA, grant award to update your multi-hazard mitigation plan. Isn't that fun?
I think that's as low as it can go. Yes, so we are asking tonight for approval to go ahead and apply for a grant through IDHS to update our multi-hazard mitigation plan. This grant was pursued back in 2019 by EMA. It was awarded, and they began working with the IU Polis Center to get the multi-hazard mitigation plan updated. That is a lengthy process, so it was adopted into place in 2023 and 2024. However, that is due to be updated every 5 years. So we are up this year to be allowed to apply for that grant again, to go through the several-year process of compiling all of the data, getting everything that we need to finalize the plan, and then re-adopting it within that 5-year time frame. So in this is a request for the grant, as well as a letter of intent. So that is the first step with this grant. We draft a letter, which you should have a copy of, and send that to IDHS showing that we are interested. And then from there, we move forward with the grant application. So asking for approval to send that letter as well as move forward with the grant application when that phase comes up.
Any questions for Abby on this?
2575?
Yes, and that is the 29,000, I'm sorry, is what the 75 would be. We would make up the other 25% through in-kind, doing the work to get the data, implement the data, process it, and then draft it into the plan itself, as well as going through all of the schools, townships, and jurisdictions, getting these presented, letting them understand what they're for, and getting them adopted.
And that price has been that price since about '04, so.
Yep.
Any further questions for Abby? For the audience sake, you do have to have a multi-hazard mitigation plan in place before you're eligible for any federal grants, just so you know. Entertain a motion on the BRIC MHMP.
Brian Kyer makes a motion that we accept applying for the grant for $29,000 for the BRIC MHMP.
Got a first and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any questions, comments from the audience? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to thank Abby for the work you did Sunday morning. I didn't pay attention to it, but didn't make it to church. I wished I had.
Thank
But
you.
for all you folks, when that snow came, Abby's on the phone, seeing if we want to do an advisory, and it was necessary. It was quite a fast little event. Thank you very much for that, Abby.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Oh, lost a page. We got an appointment to make. We got a resignation from Chuck Christopherson for the Harrison Township Fire District Board, and we have a name of Richard Hoffman that expressed interest in it. He's retired and would love to do that. He is a Harrison Township resident, and he has to be on that board, so.
We approve the gentleman.
We got a first by Mr. Adams to appoint Richard Hoffman. I'll second the motion. Any further questions from the board? Comments, questions from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. You see you got a tort claim in your packet as well.
Brian Kyer makes a motion that we send the tort claim on to our insurance carrier.
We got a motion by Mr. Collier to move the tort claim forwarded on to our insurance carrier. I'll second the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We've got one last thing on this agenda, Mr. Fry.
Good evening. We have an employee that is out of time and they have a parent that has been put on hospice in another state. And so they are asking for some unpaid time. And then I also was approached by someone in a different department that was asking to donate time to this person. So I am bringing the request to the commissioners.
I'm gonna turn it right over to our attorney on that one.
So I understand the sympathy that this board has always shown with people who have the familial circumstances that you're talking about. And what I hear from you is two different things. One is that you were approached for unpaid time,
Correct.
and I'm going to address the second portion, and that has to do with a request for donation from one employee to another. And I know this has been an issue that we've talked about before. It's been a practice of the county to allow those donations of time. Technically, there's no authorization for that in the law, and I actually have concerns that that could come back to haunt the person who receives the donation at some point in time under the law. And because of that, I would not recommend that we continue this practice. I just advise on the law, I don't make policy.
Graham, forgive me, but she's a fairly new employee, and that's why she don't have a lot of PTO, I'm assuming.
I believe it is 3 or 4 years that she has worked here.
I didn't think she'd been here that long.
However, there have been other mitigating circumstances within her family that she's used her time for.
Any other questions for Ms. Dree? That's all I have. Not, I'd entertain a motion if you so desire.
Upon legal advice, I'm going to not approve the giving of PTO, and I will leave it up to the department head whether they want to give them unpaid time off to hold the position.
I hear your vote, we need a motion. You move that you deny it.
That is a motion?
Yeah.
Not allow the donation of PTO and leave it up to the office.
We got a,
department head's discretion?
we got a motion from Mr. Collier to deny the donation of time, but allow the person to go ahead and stay as a county employee and just allowing that for unpaid time. I'll second the motion. Any further?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Hale. So I believe the way the motion was phrased is that Commissioner Collier would like to leave it to the department head whether to grant the unpaid time.
I'll amend my motion. Mr.
Yeah.
Collier. I'll still second that. You need me to rescind my motion.
No, he made his motion, you can second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any further questions for Mr. Reed?
Yeah.
Or Ms. Sand?
Well, whose motion we going for here?
I just amended his motion.
Oh, okay. Just making sure I knew from which horse I was riding right now.
Denying PTO and allowing the office holders discretion on the.
We've been advised if we keep granting, giving the PTO, the person that receives it may get a bill later. So we have to discontinue that practice.
Got it.
As far as saving the position, if they're a good employee and they have a family situation, leave it to the department head. Can they function? And if they can't function, then you lose the job and you gotta fill the position. But if they can function and people can pick up the slack for a week or two, it's up to the department head. I don't want to micromanage, I don't want to get into micromanaging every department that.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting that in the hands of the department.
And we're also digging, losing, if you don't grant it, you're losing all that training you put into that person.
Correct.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. You good, Dree?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Save that for later. Good of the county. We'll save it for later.
You're in charge here.
we're gonna stay for the good of the county until later and just go right on with the meeting. We have a rezone request. Miss Laura, Miss Parker, would you please come up and let us know the findings? I know what they are, but the other two commissioners probably are not as familiar, and I want to make sure that it's out there to start with.
So in your packet, you have zoning ordinance number 25-1, which is for a PUD district. And this request was heard by the Planning Commission on February the 10th. And it came to you with a favorable recommendation of 7-1. And my staff report, as well as other handouts, are in your packet. The ordinance itself, and also the slide deck that was provided by the petitioner. I'm happy to address any questions you might have.
I'm good. You gentlemen?
The petitioner is here.
Yep.
If you want to.
We'll let him up next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Parker.
Thank you and good evening, Commissioners. Joe Calderon, attorney representing the applicant in the PUD 2501. We're, just as a way of background, we chose the PUD district for a couple of reasons. One, we feel that the primary purpose and the primary use for this property being a data center is not adequately defined in your UDO. So we wanted to make it perfectly clear exactly what a data center was. It's defined in the ordinance. We tried to write to light industrial standards. We did include 2 additional uses within IU that would be permitted in the PUD. That would be research and development and light manufacturing. There are some single-family homes whereby the owners have chosen to stay post-development. So we've included those homes as being allowed permitted uses within the PUD, but no new ones. So a PUD oftentimes mixes uses, and that's what we've done here. The other advantage from your perspective is that we're able to kind of tailor our proposed standards in comparison to your ordinance. And a couple of things that just at a high level that we thought were very important were to be able to provide and exceed your setback and buffering standards. So what we've done on the perimeter where we're fronting on public right-of-way is essentially tripled the setback and promised a berm, landscape berm type situation that would not otherwise be at that depth and that quality if the UDO were to govern. We default to the UDO and several other standards. And following last week, we have also rolled into the PUD a noise standard, a maximum of 65 decibels after operation. So we put that directly into the PUD.
The battery went out in my aid there, so
Oh.
have a little, what was the decibel level?
65 at the property line.
At the property line.
Yes.
Means you wouldn't hear it.
And
What did you say?
It was talked about a lot at the Planning Commission and in the community meeting. We felt that it would be a good thing to have an actual standard put in the ordinance. We will do a noise study after a building comes online and becomes operational. We'll tender it to Laura and her staff, and if we need to make mitigation adjustments, we'll do that. But now that's in the ordinance. So we have listened and certainly respected the comments that we have. With that, happy to answer any other more detailed questions regarding the PUD, but we're appreciative of the opportunity.
Any questions, gentlemen?
I know one of the concerns that came up in the Plan Commission, and I believe it was addressed, but I'd like to reiterate it. It is probably a Fortune 50 American-owned company.
That is correct. That is correct.
And reiterate, just make sure I got it right. You're tripling the setback.
The front setbacks would be 50 feet under your UDO. For every perimeter yard that fronts on public right-of-way, we're at 150 feet. And we've included kind of a berming and landscaping concept on our concept plan and tied that to the ordinance as well.
I know sound kept coming up last Monday. The counties, or the normal is higher than what you're below
The county standard kind of talks about unreasonable levels or nuisance levels, whatever that might be. It's not defined by decibel level. Different jurisdictions have different thoughts on that. We felt that it was important to come up with a standard that would make sense and be at a level that does not rise to the threshold of what your ordinance would otherwise have, which is a nuisance.
And can you reiterate that level?
65 decibels at the property line. It's in the ordinance under section 8.1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I went out and I got some help to come up with some studies on decibel level. As I get older, like Don, I can't hear anything anymore, but 60 to 65 would be a normal business office. A normal conversation would be 60 to 70 decibel levels.
While we're talking about sound, I got curious myself. Everybody's talking about it and all this decibel level and all that. So I'm putting this out for the audience too. If you haven't put one of your little decibel readers on your phone,
You could do that on your phone, definitely.
Tonight on the way to coming down Blue Bluff, I stopped. There was a lot of concern when we put that huge power plant down there where we replaced it to the gasification, and the objections for several people were sound. So I pulled in. I didn't realize the gate had opened. That scared the poo out of me. So I went in and told the guy what I was doing, security guy. And I took a reading, and it was like 60. And he said, and it was like conversation like, I expect it's 50, 60 in here right now. Normal, rural, you might have seen this, rural, nothing. I mean, like where I live, well, I actually have a little more because I have a factory not too far away. But it's usually around 25, that's the lowest.
Right.
So you always have something. But I was amazed that I got an education. I was out there this morning at Love Station and got a reading there and went over in a new village there, and I don't remember what street it was, a quiet street, and it was 45. And I thought, you know, that was pretty close to Love. So I'm kind of satisfied about the noise level. I think everybody was kind of concerned about it.
Sure.
And I would be too.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's my sense as far as what we're looking at. But
Thank you.
thank you for your information and the planning that's gone into this.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for him?
Not at this time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Mr. Mike, you want to say anything? I don't have anything to add at this time. I'm fine. You guys? We're going to start going right down the list, and Janice Weddle.
My name is Janice Weddle, 1729.
Can you get a little closer, because I'm, like I said,
Janice
age
Weddle,
went off.
1729 West State Road, 42, Mooresville.
Thank you.
Okay, my concern is, I know there's progress, but we're going to be right across the street on 42. It's not just the noise, it's the pollution, it's the dust and the dirt from the construction, 5 to 8 years of construction noise. Where the entrance is gonna be on 42 is gonna be in front of our house, down from our house, the traffic it's gonna bring in. We have a problem already getting out our driveway with the way they made 42. We can almost get hit. This is one of my concerns. There's a creek that runs through several properties, and a creek that runs through that property onto our property. From what I understand, they cannot stop the creek or cut off the water flow from that property. That's one of my concerns. And I'd like to know if the value of my house goes down because of all these concerns, if the health of my husband goes down because of a defibrillator, because they say they can, from what I read, it can affect them if you're close enough. From what I've read, they're really close to residential houses, like in a horseshoe, not counting the houses down, but I'm talking the houses right across the street where you can walk right onto their property. There's no concern at all for us. Are they gonna take care, if our property value goes down, are they gonna take care of our light bill? The water they use, the heat they use? It doesn't matter what they use to cool their computers with, it still causes noise. Some of them that I've seen where they've promised a 0.65 decimal has gone up, and they've wound up in lawsuits, negotiation over this. But my main concern are they gonna take care of the health issues and the other issues, the dirt, the noise, the construction, if my well goes dry? Who's gonna take care of that? Will they give me a contract stating that they will compensate me for any of that? Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Brian Whitlock, I believe. Willett, sorry, Brian.
Brian Willett, lived at 11805 North Keller Heights Drive since 1998. That address puts me within 1,000 feet of the prospective build. I attended both the town hall meeting and the meeting with the Plan Commission, where I was able to speak in opposition. The takeaway from the meeting was that the 123 families who own homes within the 7/10 of a mile of this proposed site should take one for the team so we could start bringing businesses into Morgan County. Dropping a data center in the middle of a residential agricultural area was what the real estate agent on the Economic Development Commission and most members of the Plan Commission thought was a good idea. The reasoning stated at the February 11th meeting was that the tax money brought in would exceed that of tax money for agricultural land, and that the power was still that was already there. At the same meeting, the developer stated that they would seek the abatement Indiana offers, which would put that tax benefit off for 25 to 50 years. So in short, those tax benefits are going to arrive during someone's lifetime, just not the people who have lived in that area for 20 to 50 years. The argument that the power is already there is the power company will put power where you want power, and we have industrial parks already zoned as such that would meet the requirement without offending the residents of northwest Morgan County. In addition to the lack of tax revenue coming into the county, there are other issues plaguing the area, as mentioned. Shutdowns of the roads that folks utilize to get to work and school, construction pollution, noise and traffic. Start with the county roads. Keller Hill and Antioch are not adequate for construction traffic. They're also important for the people who live in the area and areas further east of the proposed site to get to work. How long is it going to be hobbled with construction traffic? It's stated at the meeting it would be 5 to 8 years. And that goes to the noise, which has been mentioned. I'm sure you guys have done your due diligence and been to a data center pretty much comparable to the one that they're planning to put in. to see if it consistently sounds like a dishwasher or vacuum cleaner operating 24/7 before you drop this in around your constituents, neighbors, and friends. The final point I'd like to bring up is that no one has ever driven past the industrial parks in Hendricks County and said, wow, that looks great. Picture your home, someplace you've lived in for 20 to 50 years, a place that you've raised your family or are currently raising your family, a place away from the noise and views of the city and industrial Indiana. You've paid your taxes, you've kept your property up, you've developed equity in your home, and now that serenity, equity, and sense of community is in the hands of three people who feel you need to take one for the team so that we can potentially entice a large company to do this for other residents of the county. It's not a good look, it's not a good practice. I ask along with the hundreds of other residents and friends that you vote no for the rezoning.
Randall McKee.
Randall McKee, 1050 West Willow Run Court, Mooresville, Indiana, 46158. Live in the Keller Hill Heights edition off of 42 and Keller Hill Road. So this PUD that's being planned is an industrial development. And I live in a neighborhood of about 65 homes, and there's another 65 just across the street, across Keller Hill. The 5 to 8 years, okay, and the noise levels that have been cited here, those probably don't include all noise from the dump trucks and heavy equipment that'll be used to build over the 5 to 8 years. You know, so to start with, we're going to be disrupted at a minimum of 5 to 8 years. Also, in the letters that I sent to you folks, 3 of you, Mr. Adams and Mr. Kuhn, was it? There's 3 of you. Mr. Caller. I had exhibits, sound exhibits of planning centers, 95 decibels. These are not low noise output dwellings. The cooling for these things is substantial. They have a big job to do. So to say after the fact, well, if it doesn't meet the 65, we're going to correct that, we'll mitigate that. Well, no one else has. So I find that an interesting thing to gamble our $700,000 properties on. I have a real problem with that. I also identified in both the letters on the 8th to you folks and the 9th. The 9th was the sound files. Okay, you can pull those up and listen for yourself what these things sound like if you haven't been in any of them. But on the 8th letter, I talked about this traffic. The roads that surround our community, they do not allow for big vehicles go up and down, semi-tractor trailers go up and down. In fact, they're marked, no tractor trailers, no big vehicles over a gross weight. So that's a real problem. You know, the bridges aren't going to support these vehicles. A number of issues that come up. And the dust and the other nuisance dirt things have been talked about here. I think that it's too big a gamble for all of our high tax dollar homes. And we're talking hundreds of homes. They're going to be affected by 4 buildings to house computers. I understand the need for the computers. We all know what AI is all about. We know it's going to demand a lot of computing. But it doesn't have to go next to residential neighborhoods. As Mr. Willett had mentioned, there's industrial park right at 39 and 70, all along 39 there. That's all industrial, just on the other side. It doesn't make a lot of sense to the owners of these homes like me and my family that you would approve the degradation of our homes for a Fortune 50 company to come in and build these buildings. Thank you.
Sean Walker.
Hey, how you doing? Sean Walker, 11645 North Antioch Road. I live right across the street from where this is going. And I'll be honest, I've been pretty ignorant with local politics and how things work until now because I've never had to really get involved in it. But this has all happened pretty quick. So, 2 weeks, I've had to become an expert on how local government works. But my main concern, I own a small business, I got 3 kids, and we live right across the street. And the 65 decibels, that sounds, I'm be honest, I'm not sure what that sounds like, but it's gonna be 24/7, it could be nothing. But the 5 to 8 years of construction, that's a pretty good cost, on the people living there. And this decision is coming by people who don't have to live with this, I feel like with the last meeting and other meetings, and people are kind of joking around about it, but this is where we live, nobody's upset about people's right to sell their property, because this is about zoning. Zoning's supposed to protect the people in the zone from having certain things on their property. Some people, depend on these zones, and they decide where they're gonna live based on them. And so when it comes right across the street, and you're expecting a certain thing, and, not every property owner has the right to just change their zone. Like I own a food truck, I can't just put a restaurant, I can't just say, oh, you know what, I'm changing my residential zone to an area I can put a restaurant. If people are upset about that, you guys have to deal with that. I mean, it's kind of the same concept, but it seems like you guys don't care. There's a bunch of people here last time, and the perception that you're giving, now, I don't know you guys personally, you may actually care, but the perception you're giving to everyone who lives around there is, it doesn't matter what you think, because I know everyone that lives around there is not happy with this, and at the minimum, we'd like people to actually take the time to sell us on it. Like, tell us why this is good for us to live by. Why should we be sacrificing our property and our time and our view and everything else for this? And it may be a great thing for us, but in a week and a half, 2 weeks, we have no time to even think about it. And you guys will make decisions that's gonna last forever. My kids will be about out of high school by the time this thing's done being built. I'll have one out of school and 2 almost out of school by the time it's even done constructing. And so it's just a big concern based on that, and the perception you guys are giving is it doesn't matter what we think. And I think that's the thing that's wrong. You're all elected officials, and that assumption is that our opinion should matter. You may care, but the perception is you don't. Because you guys come to a quick decision on this after everyone that lives around there says we don't want it, or at least say, hey, let's table it and talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Jones. Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Michelle Jones, and I've lived in Monrovia at 33 West Henshaw since the year 2000. My grandfather bought 240 acres, and we bought 24 after my grandmother passed away. I have learned to love that land. I enjoyed spending many of my weekends learning to do farm work for my grandfather, enjoying the beautiful sunsets and the sunrises of Morgan County. And there's nothing like it in the Midwest. There's nothing like it. It's gorgeous here. And I want to stay here. I want to see my grandchildren be raised here. And I've enjoyed small town Monrovia. Monrovia has given my kids so many opportunities. My kids have enjoyed quite a lot of sports. My son learned at least 5 different sports in high school. And it's been fun. Best times was the bus ride home. He enjoyed it. And if you guys do this, we do not have a chance to grow as much. We do understand growth. We don't scare growth, but we want good growth. We need those homes. We need that area to be homes, so that way we can get more tax dollars. Our schools already has a problem where it isn't going to be able to grow. We don't know where the school can be put if we do grow, and those are the concerns that we have. So we don't want to have something that doesn't get taxed. And we are concerned for our eagles. There are eagles in the area, and there are red hawks. And we all enjoy seeing them whenever they come visit our land. And we don't want to see them go away. And we already hear 70 at our property, and we live 2 miles away. And we do hear the FedEx planes. And that is pretty neat to see them coming over. But still, there's a lot of noise already in Monrovia. And we enjoy our farmers and support them. And we ask that you say no, and to keep that as housing possibilities for our town to grow. Thank you.
Roger Kessler. Matt O'Neill.
Good evening, everybody. My time is limited, so I live in Mooresville. I have no skin in the game, 624 Peaceful View Drive, Mooresville, Indiana. Everybody's concerned, you just brought about bald eagles. I'm here for the, as far as animals go. I have more questions than statements. So, here we go. Do you guys know how many miles an eagle can see? Probably not. 2 miles. Field of view, 340 degrees. This, I found a bald eagle nest within a quarter mile of this nest. Directly below is part of McCracken Creek. Have you guys done testing on this water? Will you continue to be good stewards of this land 5, 10, 15, 15 years, 50 years from now? If this land, this water becomes polluted, I drank this water the other day. You're going to drink it 5 years, 10, 15, 50 years from now, okay? With that being said, eagles, the light pollution, with them being able to see 2-mile radius, they come in, and I encourage anybody to come with me. I film them all the time. At dusk, become disoriented, and there's a federal law, 330 feet cannot go in within that boundary of that eagle says active. Meaning, if I'm coming in at dusk and I cannot find my home, you kill whatever's there because it takes 2 to raise all those babies, period. Nobody's thinking about the light pollution. That's what I'm thinking. Nobody's thinking about the water. How much water's coming in? How much water's going out? Are you going to do a test? If it's 5 million or 6 million gallons a day coming in, how much going out? You're going to drink that water when it goes out. There's a lot more to that I could be saying here about just the eagles, the wildlife, what they eat, what it impacts, the owners of the property directly south of that property. Come drink that water with me 5 years from now. I promise you, you're not going to. No matter what. I have no skin in this game. I don't live in this community. I'm telling you right now, it's not about the noise pollution at all. It's light, it's water, it's land. These eagles, these wildlife that you're talking about is more than just our bald eagles. It is great horned owls. They're all protected federally. Think about that. They have no voice. I am their voice. Come with me. Watch, see the pollution all over this country that I filmed. Alaska. I could go from the tip to the bottom of the United States. Come with me. Follow me. Make those hard decisions. Watch these animals suffer from stuff like this. Thank you.
Carl Gilbreth. Carl Gilbreth.
Good evening. My name is Carl Gilbert. I own Midway Auction at 554 West State Road 42. And I also have a residence at 538 West State Road 42, a third of a mile from this proposed site. We have been there since 1985. We're here because a major decision is being made about our community, one that could have lasting effects on our water, our homes, and quality of life. The proposed data center raises concerns, and we need real answers before this is approved and moved forward. First and foremost, the major red flag for this community is the secrecy about this project. Who's building it? Why is that information being withheld from us? This is the only data center in the state that it's being withheld. The rest of the proposed ones have been notified. If this development is supposed to be a benefit of the community, again, why are we being held into decision-making, and why is transparency not there on this project? We all have the same concerns with water. Every person in that area is on a well. Data centers require billions of gallons to cool. How are we going to be protected if this is approved? And what is your guys' role in that to make sure that we are protected? Our wells don't dry up. If they do, who's paying for that? Us homeowners? The data center? The county? Who? Property values are definitely going to be hit because this is an industrial development, and any residential house in the area will definitely see as a realtor and a company that sells real estate all the time, it will be affected on our property. Beyond pollution, we have a lot of, beyond property values, we have a lot of consideration of environmental impact that you just heard. There is a quarter-of-a-mile radius there that we do have an eagle. Actually, there are 3 that live across the street from me, which is less than a quarter mile from it. Where are their protection from the generators, the dust, the pollution? We've talked about, some of them talked about water drainage. Again, we need to protect those. The big thing here for me too is the health and impacts that this is going to have for our community centers. Data centers emit electromagnetic fields, EMFs, which can interfere with pacemakers and has known to cause severe medical conditions for those in the area. Has any research been done by this county to protect those residents who live directly across the street? How many buildings are going to be built? That oversight has still not been determined, because every time they speak, it's we think 4, we think it's this, we think it's that. They don't even know. Lastly here, I'm not against the progress of our county. I know it's coming. Monrovia is not a small town. It's growing. But we're against the progress that puts our community at risk. We demand transparency. We demand protection, and we demand that the voices of the people who live in that area matter most. We elected you as our officials. Please answer our questions.
Heather Keisler, I believe. Kessler, I am so sorry.
I'm Heather Kissler. We live at 11509 North Antioch Road. So right at 42 and Antioch Road, across the street from where the data center will be. I grew up in Monrovia on Gasburg Road. My husband and I met, he's from Muncie. We lived in Castleton for 13 years. We wanted to come back to my small town to live in the country, to raise our children there. So we've been here for 12 years. We don't want to move. We bought this as our forever home. This is where we wanted to retire. But if this gets built, that's what we're going to have to do, is move. My kids graduate in 4 years, thankfully. This will take 5 to 8 years to build, so we might just have to move. I'm not necessarily against a data center, but why right across the street from my house? Every one of my neighbors is against this. I went door to door down my street once we got the letter notifying us that there would be a data center there. And I know that they say that the noise will be capped at 65 decibels, but what if it's not? What happens? What are the repercussions of that? Because it's already built, so it'll be too late. If you listen to any of the news reports where they actually do the interviews outside the data center, you can barely hear the person speaking because it sounds like a leaf blower in the background. Also, once we do decide to move, if we do, it's going to be hard to sell our home. What's going to happen to our home values? Who's going to make up for that deficit that we're going to have when we sell our house? What bothers me the most, I think, is that people that don't live in our area are making decisions that affect me and my family and my neighbors. Please listen to what all of us have had to say. The crowd has dwindled through each meeting because we feel like it's a done deal. There's nothing else that we can say this is going to happen. But please listen, there were 400 to 500 people at that first meeting, and most of them are against this. Please vote no for rezoning. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Lauren Moore. I'm representing the town of Monrovia and the residents around there. I have lived here almost 50 years and watched the town grow and have wondered what's going to happen. We've been hearing rumors and rumors and rumors about something going to be built, and finally we heard that it was going to be a data center. I have been in computers for over 50 years, and what I know about these data centers is they're not a quiet operation. They make a lot of noise, and I know of 5 towns here in Indiana that has turned them down just because of the noise. Now, you're wanting to build this right up against residential areas. Yes, there is farm ground that you're using, but there's a lot of people that live around here. They say that noise will travel at least 2 miles, and there's nothing that we can do to deaden that noise. And so, if they're going to use water cooling, that may make it cooler, but most of the time they have what they call the evaporative coolers, which has fans on them that run continuously 24/7. Now, I know you guys don't live down there in Monrovia, but it sure would be nice if you would take the time just to find out what's going on. I know you have blinders on that looks, all you can see is these dollar signs, but it's not going to help the town, it's not going to help the residents. Thank you.
Stephanie Parks.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Stephanie Parks. I'm at 1215 West Ashton Lane, Mooresville. We've talked a lot about the noise pollution at the data center. I just want to add a few things. Quiet is delight. Think about it for a second. For several of us, we've enjoyed the peace and quiet of our properties for many, many years. Did you know that a gunshot is 140 to 170 decibels? A jet takeoff is 140 decibels. Lawnmower, motorcycle is 90 decibels. A conversation is 60 decibels. What is the one thing that they all have in common? Those sounds are temporary. The noise of the data center at 65 decibels ongoing 24/7, day and night, no reprieve. Noise pollution affects mental and physical well-being and is a major environmental pollutant. I asked Mr. Adams, how is the industrial property behind your property affected you? Unless you benefit from the sale of the land, I can't imagine life hasn't changed for you. Why is the Mooresville Industrial Park area that includes Choa and Hansel Parkway considered for this project, instead of a rural area where the norm is farmland and homes and not warehouses? Mr. Hill, you represent the most districts in our county. While Monroe Township is a small portion, you know that we don't want the project in our area. As you mentioned at the planning and zoning meeting, you knew of someone that wanted to put a data center in previously in Martinsville. Why isn't that land still considered? Mr. Collier, I ask you to consider for a moment that if you were not a county commissioner and a simple property owner like us, would a project like the data center be okay next to your home? Electromagnetic fields, light, and noise pollution will all affect the health and well-being of those who live near this project. Are you commissioners willing to risk the health and well-being of your friends and neighbors? At one point, the town of Monrovia wanted to build a wastewater treatment by our property. The engineers kept saying it'll be okay, it'll be no spills, never. I did my research and I found out it wasn't if a spill was going to happen, it was when. I say all this to say to you that once you put something in, you can't take it back. Once you change the zoning for this area, it will never change back, and it will open the door to who knows what for the future. I ask each of you to vote no. Thank you.
Louis?
John Louis, 11057 North Gasburg Road, Mooresville. And we almost didn't come tonight because after the last meeting, it seemed like this was already a done deal. But even though it's going to be destroying the lives of hundreds of people, but I thought I could at least come and say that apparently when enough money comes to town, public servants no longer serve the public.
Cindy Robinson, I believe. Forgive me. Is it Robinson?
Lindsay Robinson.
Thank you.
So I'm Lindsay Robinson. I live at 310 East Main Street, Monrovia. So I'm right on 42. I am 0.2 miles from where the site is. And I'm directly across the field from the current sewage plant, which also leaves a lot of questions in my mind. I am completely opposed to this data center being built in my backyard. I've conducted my own research. I've attended each and every meeting that we've had, so 3 so far. But it's clear to me that this project is going to move forward despite our concerns. What upsets me the most is that the citizens of Monrovia, we're the people who are impacted most by this project, but we're likely going to see none of the tax we will likely see none of the tax revenue that's generated. We will endure the 5 to 8 years of ongoing construction, the noise during construction and after, the potential impact to our water, our sewage, and our electricity costs, and the significant drop in our property values. But the millions of dollars in tax revenue paid to the county are going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to Martinsville, they're going to go to Mooresville, and to the places where you all live. If this project is inevitable, then a significant portion of the tax revenue must be earmarked for Monrovia itself. Our town already desperately needs funding for our schools, our library, our fire station, and our roads. I ask you to consider what 5 to 8 years of heavy construction traffic will do to our already inadequate intersection at 39 and 42. And then the surrounding back roads near the proposed site as well. If this goes through, the only way to make it right is to invest the money back into Monrovia itself. If we receive the support that we need, then maybe, just maybe, we can grow and attract the new residents despite this data center. And otherwise, we're going to be left with no choice but to sell our properties for less than what we owe. And that's honestly terrifying to me. I urge you to do the right thing and fight for Monrovia's fair share in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Wade Cad.
Hello, my name is Wade Catt. I live at 9405 North State Road 39, 46158. I am a lifelong resident of Monrovia and Morgan County. I'm also currently an MD, PhD student at IU School of Medicine. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself because I have done a lot of research since learning about this, about the potential health consequences of something like this. We've heard a lot about noise, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that again. I did find it interesting last week that this number of 65 keeps getting talked about. And perhaps that's due to some local ordinances and things like that, but it is not evidence-based that 65 decibels is a scientific threshold for like safety to the human body. And I think that we're all getting the impression right now that that is the case, and it is not. Excuse me. So, various public health and medical institutions around the world, noise pollution has been extensively studied in Europe as well as Japan. So we have like the World Health Organization, the European Environmental Agency, the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association, the Department of Transportation, OSHA, Centers for Disease Control, National Heart and Lung and Blood Institute, all saying that a decibel threshold at night of 45 is potentially harmful to human health for a lot of the reasons that have already been covered, and 55 during the daytime. So I haven't heard 45 or 55 being mentioned as something that this is possible to ward off against. I've heard 65, and I personally have serious doubts about whether 65 is feasible from an institution, from a construction like this. Operating 24/7, like we've heard. The other piece is that these data centers emit low-frequency noises. And low-frequency sounds actually travel further than high-frequency sounds. So a 65 decibel noise at a higher frequency. So say, for example, a police siren going down 42 or something is actually going to travel a lot less far than a 65 decibel sound at a much lower frequency, such as the frequencies that these data centers emit. So this might sound like a conversation happening in a moment, but I think we can all agree that if someone was sitting there next to you, talking to you 24/7, you would eventually ask them to be quiet. And yeah, this is a big problem. You guys need to look more into this, and please listen to the community and don't joke and make jokes and make light about people's legitimate concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Caldron, would you like to respond, sir?
We can say with certainty that a number of the issues that have been raised will be fully vetted throughout the permitting process, including drainage, stormwater runoff, stormwater quality. We do meet the standard for your for lighting as set forth in your UDO. So light pollution should not be a negative quality of this particular project. But a lot of issues that are raised are issues that are raised in a lot of zoning cases that you just, it's impossible for me to provide an answer to soothe people who are convinced that they're going to be driven out of their homes, et cetera. That's certainly not the intent. The intent is to draft an ordinance that provides more protection for our neighbors with residential nearby than your UDO provides, tripling it. And if we do our job that way over a short period of time, then you won't really be able to see the project from those homes. Secondly, I lost my train of thought for a moment. The 5 to 8 year period of construction is a guess. Normally it takes a year or less to open up that first building. Technology changes quickly, project needs all depend upon the power source, the water source. If those are available at the site from day one, it's going to be much quicker. And if not, it may take a little longer. It's a guess. We don't know for sure if it's going to take 5 to 8 years construction. A lot of the construction gets staged at site beginning. So we'll have to, and we're certainly willing to work with the county to make sure that we mitigate any concerns about construction noise. We do have, obviously, to get temporary construction curb cuts. So we hope that those are dispersed such that we don't create traffic jams on any of the streets that can't handle the traffic. So a lot of the processes and concerns are expressed are normal. We've tried to plan for those in our ordinance. A lot of things will be taken care of in the normal course through the normal permitting processes and other controls that you have in place as a county that are not really appropriate for at the zoning level. And I'm not going to say anything more about noise other than we put in a standard that we felt we could achieve, that's measurable, and you know, when you think about it, people do work at these places, not really a health concern. Understand there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet. Some of the noise issues has to do with Bitcoin mining, merchant data centers, which this is not. So we think this is distinguishable from that perspective as well. Anything else that we can answer for you at this time?
Any questions for Mr. Carter?
I do not.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Ms. Ann, it's all your turn.
So, gentlemen, this ordinance is presented to you after going through a full plan commission review, including a public hearing last Monday evening. This proposal has also received a recommendation to adopt the ordinance from the plan commission, although there was a long period of time for issues to be raised by remonstrators. I think it's important for you all, and not that you don't know these, but just to be reminded, and for those who are with us this evening and watching us online, which is a record, I believe, in terms of people watching online. It's important to start with what this body is required to assess in making a determination of whether to pass this ordinance or not. By statute, you are required to pay reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan, current conditions, and the character of current structures and uses in each district, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction, and responsible development and growth. Now, those are quite a few factors, and they can be complicated. In addition, for a planned unit development, PUD, that term's been used a couple times tonight, the PUD ordinance must include development requirements. I think it's also important to note that we're still in the very early stages of this process. This is a zoning decision. It's been presented as a concept. Once the project has more details, it will go through design standards, development processes. The county will be able to review the actual proposed buildings to confirm that the overall standards are adhered to, and this is all part of a process that lies before you. The record shows that the proper notice requirements were fulfilled leading to the Plan Commission meeting and hearing. All of the legal notices were posted and/or sent. I've also, based on what I heard on Monday last, on the 10th, there were leaders of Monrovia who indicated that they were not involved in the process and expressed concerns about that. But upon further investigation into that, I learned that the leaders of Monrovia were in fact invited to meet with the developer and discuss the project, albeit confidentially, so as not to jeopardize the project before it even started. At least one leader did meet with the developer and expressed support for the project after having had that opportunity. Others declined for their own reasons. So to the extent that we have community leaders in Monrovia who have said publicly they weren't aware of or invited to participate in the planning for this, that's incorrect. There's also been assertions that the property owners have not consented to this PUD proposal. That is also incorrect. We have both included in the purchase agreements language that has been provided to our plan director prior to Monday night. We also have explicit consent and ratification of actions taken on behalf of the property owners. I've known Mike Dellinger for a very long time. I could tell you some stories about him, but he's definitely an honest person when it comes to representing the property owners that are in front of him. He had, folks, I didn't interrupt you. He had absolute authority from the property owners to act on their behalf in this process, and we now have further proof of that. Finally, there have been specific questions about the standards set out in the PUD. There have been hypothetical scenarios presented about what will be built or how bad things could be if this specific project proceeds or doesn't proceed. Again, we are in the early stages of this process. The county will have input into the buildings and fixtures that go onto these properties. If the buildings, parking lots, green space, water retention, all those things do not meet the standards of these gentlemen who are standing up here and others in the county, then they won't approve the project. It's as simple as that. And if this project does not proceed, the Plan Commission or the county can either amend this PUD in the future or tailor the zoning again for some other project in the future. Again, this is a zoning decision that's in front of this commission tonight. We appreciate the honest and heartfelt expressions of concerns about this project. When the current zoning for these parcels was established, data centers didn't even exist as a possible use. We've now been presented with a truly unique opportunity for the county. Ultimately, this body must determine the appropriate zoning based on the current conditions, the most desirable use, the effect on property values, and responsible growth for the area. The PUD ordinance as presented can be adopted by this body tonight within and under the statute.
Any questions for Ann or Mrs. Parker on these zoning ordinance? UDO. I want to thank you all for coming out and voicing your opinions tonight, that's for sure. Thank you for being a lot quieter and respectful tonight. I really appreciate that. We can't make everybody happy, that's for dang sure. I know I had expressed earlier on that I did work with a gentleman trying to get a data center here many years ago on State Road 37/69 corridor now. Didn't happen. I brought several businesses in trying to try to diversify our revenue stream from all residential. Because being all residential, it all hits us pretty hard in the pocketbook. So that's where I'm at on it still. I supported this earlier, and I'm still there. The meeting's closed now, folks. You gentlemen like to say anything? Any comments, questions, concerns?
Well, yeah, a couple of things. Appreciate everybody's voicing their opinion. And one of the things, I only made one note, I'm sorry, I listened to this Monday as well, but I made one note. It's something about, I thought was real important, was to make sure we invest back into Monrovia. That's, to me, part of the key thing. But it's not the only thing. There's 70 other thousand, well, 65,000 other people in this county that are going to be invested in, but Monrovia will be invested in probably the most. It'll change things. I had a call today from a resident of Monrovia who was very supportive and thankful. And he said, it's good for what we need, schools, for kids to stay here, for opportunities. It doesn't involve, I suppose, the main concern. I'm not too crazy about warehouses. I'm on a transportation committee for the region, Central Indiana Regional Transit Authority, and we're busy taking, we have transportation out, for example, to Plainfield. People that have the wages there in Plainfield can't afford to live in Plainfield. That's not going to be the case here. You're going to have opportunities for your children. It's going to have technology. You're going to have things that are going to be very positive. I suppose most important to me, as you can see, I'm long in the tooth. And so I'm not going to see all the benefits in 10, 20 years from now, which is sort of, well, I took a thing this evening and said, I got another 20 years. I doubt it. But let's say I get the 10 years. What I'm looking at is this vote, and this, my concern is faith in the future. It's not fear in the present. I have faith in the future. I have faith in what is being proposed. It's going to be a good thing for both Monrovia. It's going to be a good thing for Morgan County, and especially gonna be a good thing for my grandchildren. Their grandparents lived down on Bunker Hill. My cousin lives on the top of the hill. 39 is on the board. We don't always see eye to eye. We don't see eye to eye on this one. But I think, I'm thinking about her when I say we need to do this, because I think it's going to be good for her. So that's my thought, and that's why I will be making a motion, or seconding a motion, to go ahead and proceed, because there's a lot of checks as it goes down the road. Your concerns are being heard, but I see a future, and I have faith in it. Enough said.
Anything else? I'd entertain a motion at this time.
Also move. Approve.
Pardon me.
I'll move to make the approval.
We've got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve the rezoning ordinances before us. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collier. Any further discussion from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
That's Lauren Moore, and he'll have your questions. On saying how much you get paid.
Let everybody get out of here for the good of the county. Good of the county. Don or Brian? Anything?
For the good of the county, we listened to the complaints. There's 72,000 people here, and the people have spoken.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0.